What's up, Lit fam? It's your boy Laterras Whitfield. Listen, I want to drop in before this episode releases just to let you know that I appreciate you. I just want to say thank you. This episode was shot August the 13th of 2024. I shot 3 episodes when Dr. Gary Chapman was in my studio. He wanted to offer as much wisdom as possible, and this episode is perfect for such a time as this. Don't that sound real safe? For such a time as this. So before you watch this episode, I want you to hit that like button. Let me tell you why the like button is so important. Hit that like button because it triggers YouTube in their algorithm to let other people know that, hey, this is an episode you want to watch. And so this episode is powerful because I believe that there's a lot of gems in this episode that we can extract from. And it's perfect for such a time as this for my life because, as y'all know, well, I assume everybody knows, but if you don't, I proposed to my beautiful woman just a few weeks ago. Yeah, on July the 13th. And we will be getting married on November the 22nd, and I'm inviting everyone on the live stream. It's going to be a free live stream, so make sure that you join us on that. I wouldn't want to do this without you. Y'all been on this journey with me. Some of y'all since the inception of the Dear Future Wifey podcast for 5 years. And I'm going to be doing an episode next week by myself where I hit the yellow couch and update you on everything and how I came to this decision. Can't wait to have that conversation with you next week. But right now, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, can you do me a favor and subscribe? You know, we're trying to get to 1 million subscribers. That's the goal. Not going to say we're trying to get there by the end of this year. If we do, that would be absolutely amazing. But this is going to be amazing. I want y'all all to join me on this journey. It's called The Mystery Bride as I unveil who she is. Join with me on the fun for that. But for right now, I want y'all to hit that like button, send this video to someone, and get ready to watch Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Got Married. See you at the end of this episode with the letter. You be blessed.
I wish I'd known how to solve conflicts without arguing. We all argue, and now you won the argument, but they lost, and it's no fun to live with a loser. So why would you want to create one?
Welcome back to the Dear Future Wifey podcast, Dr. Gary Chapman. You got this amazing book called Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married. News, your book sold 500,000 copies. What do you think about that?
I'm encouraged because I know that couples who are getting married today need the kind of help that I'm giving in this book.
I wish I had known that being in love is not an adequate foundation for building a successful marriage.
I was always told that feeling's going to last forever. That's not true. The average lifespan of that euphoric state that we call being in love is 2 years. My wife and I dated 2 years before we got married, so I came down pretty soon after the honeymoon. That kind of love is not the foundation for a long-term marriage. When we come down off that high, we need to know what the other person's primary love language is.
You said toilets are not self-cleaning.
We're about 3 weeks into the marriage, and I noticed that there was getting to be a ring in the toilet. And I mentioned it to Carolyn. And she said, yeah, I know. I was wondering when you're going to clean it. I said, I don't know how to clean toilets. And she said, well, I can teach you. It's really important for couples to talk about who is going to do what after we get married.
The way y'all do life, has it changed much?
Not that much. We've lived in the same house we're in now since 1996. I realize what the scriptures say. Life's meaning is not found in what a man possesses. Life's meaning is found in relationships. First of all with God, and then family, and then other people. She's been very frugal. In fact, she cooks every night except Thursday. When I was praying, I said, thank you, God, for all the meals that Carolyn has fixed over 63 years.
Wow. Yep. The 50-50, that's been a big topic on social media. Women say, as a man, he should provide 100% of everything. My money is my money. His money is our money. How do you deal with that?
What I say is this.
The Dear Future Wifey podcast has global impact. From Texas,
I have been on this journey of healing and self-discovery, and this podcast has been a vital part of my process.
Guyana,
God's establishing through you a legacy, a display of freedom found in authentic spirituality.
California,
I've learned so much as a single man through your podcast and continue to learn so much as now a married man.
Nigeria,
this is just therapy for me. I've been healed. I've been strengthened in my convictions. I've understood how to do singlehood better.
Amsterdam,
The way that you've shown us how it is possible for a man to be as intentional as you are.
New Jersey,
I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate just being able to see that there is life after divorce.
to New York,
I am a single woman, so these episodes really give me hope and courage that God does have a husband for me.
Discover, uncover, and recover love. I'm Laterras R. Whitfield, and this is Season 10 of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. I'm your host, Laterras R. Whitfield. Listen, are you still shacking up with us? If you're still shacking up with us, can we get a commitment? Hit that subscription button and subscribe. Make sure you turn on your notification bell so you'll be notified about upcoming episodes, and sign up for our Patreon where you'll get exclusive content. Again, that's patreon.com/Laterras R. Whitfield, and sign up for that mailing list while you're at it. That's how you'll be notified about upcoming retreats, when we're doing the Dear Future Wifey live in your state and city, and all things around Laterras R. Whitfield. I'll make sure that y'all are notified about that. Well, this just keeps getting better and better. I have my friend, Dr. Gary Chapman, on the Dear Future Wifey podcast today. We're going to talk about something very interesting. This is perfectly in line with what we talk about in the Dear Future Wifey podcast. So without further ado, welcome back to the Dear Future Wifey podcast, my homie, Dr. Gary Chapman. Now, Dr. Gary Chapman, you got this amazing book called Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married. And one thing about Dr. Chapman, I always ask him, how many copies did that book sell? He's like, I don't know. Why don't you know how many copies your book sells?
It's hard to keep up with them when you got so many books out there.
See that? It's hard to keep up when you have so many books out there. And this book, I had to tell him that the book, after its reprint in 2022, has sold over 500,000 copies. And you know, he's talking about like he's the first time. What do you think about that? You know, news, your book sold 500,000 copies. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm encouraged because I know that couples who are getting married today need the kind of help that I'm giving in this book. Trying to help couples get ready for marriage, to have a successful marriage, and face reality rather than just going on, their feelings of how happy they are right now when they're in love.
Most people spend far more time in preparation for their vocation than they do in preparation for marriage. When I tell you that is so true.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Well, go 4 years a minimum to college for their vocation. 4 years.
Yeah.
Probably don't read a single book about marriage.
Not one. Not one class, not one seminar, not one counseling session. They were like, let's get married. We love each other. What made you write this book? Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married.
Well, I've been doing premarital counseling for a long, long time, many years. And I thought, I'd like to put the concepts we've been dealing with in person in a book and help a lot of couples who are getting married who I wouldn't be able to sit down with. And what I found is a lot of pastors and a lot of marriage counselors are using this as a part of their premarital counseling, with the people that are coming to them. But that's what motivated me to write it, is to give couples that are moving toward marriage a more realistic idea, at least of some of the things they need to consider and work through, as they move in toward marriage.
Hold on, let me read these. Look at all these books you've written. The 5 Love Languages, the 5 Love Languages Men Edition, the 5 Love Languages Military Edition. Never thought about that. The 5 Love Languages Gift Edition, the 5 Love Languages of Children, of Teenagers, Singles Edition, of the 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace, the Love Languages Devotional Bible, God Speaks Your Love Language, the Marriage You've Always Wanted, the Family You've Always Wanted, One More Try. You spoke about that in the earlier episode. How to Really Love Your Adult Child, Loving Your Spouse When You Feel Like Walking Away. Ooh, that's probably a really, really good one. Anger, the 5 Apology Languages 101 Conversation Starter Series, A Perfect Pet for Peyton. I took the anger assessment. Yeah, it says that I do pretty well, and it says there's some areas of growth, but I do pretty well.
Good.
So that was pretty good. That's a lot of books. And this is still not all of them. And what is A Perfect Pet for Peyton?
That's a children's book on the 5 love languages. The storyline is they take Peyton it's his birthday, and they take him to the pet store to get him a pet for his birthday. But they also take his friends with him. Well, there they meet Mr. Chapman, who's the head of the pet thing. And he introduces them to the various animals, and different children are attracted to different animals. But the animals represent different love languages. So it's just a fun way for little kids. I mean, it's really designed for little kids, 4 years old, 5 years old. It's a fun book for kids to read. Not to read, for their parents to read it to
them. Here we go. We're going to just jump off. I wish I had known that being in love is not an adequate foundation for building a successful marriage. You experienced that yourself, right?
I did, because I was always told. I remember I asked my mother, how do you know when you're really in love? And she said, if it's real, you'll know it. Well, that didn't help me at all, you know. But I also heard, all my life I heard, if you're really in love, that feeling's going to last forever. That's not true. I wish I'd known it. I mean, you know, Dorothy Tenney, Bridgeport, Connecticut, long-term study. And she discovered the average lifespan of that euphoric state that we call being in love is 2 years.
2 years.
Some a little longer, some a little less, but average 2 years, and we come down off the high. But I didn't know that. And, you know, so my wife and I dated 2 years before we got married, so I came down pretty soon after the honeymoon. And I think if I had known that was going to happen, I would have probably been able to handle it better. But I was totally shocked. I lost the positive feelings, and then after we had arguments, I had negative feelings toward her.
Yeah.
Exactly the opposite. It was a hard time for me. I just wish I'd been prepared for the reality that I was going to come down off that high. And that's why I say that kind of love is not the foundation for a long-term marriage. It's not going to stay with you forever. So, you know, that's, and then, of course, the second chapter in that book moves to the fact, I wish they'd known there's 2 stages of romantic love. There's that in-love experience, but then there's the more intentional love, and that's where I kind of review the 5 love languages, that when we come down off that high, we need to know what the other person's primary love language is so we can speak it. If we do, we will keep the emotional need for love. The emotional love tank will stay full. It's not the euphoric state, but it is that deep sense that they love me, you know, and they feel that I love them. And so we can keep emotional love alive, but I wish I'd known that there's 2 stages, and the second stage is much more intentional and takes a much more sensitive reality to what makes the other person feel loved.
Let me ask you this, because I think you're stepping on toes in this 3rd chapter where it says sayings like mother like daughter or like father like son aren't myths.
Yeah. Yeah, many people have heard that saying, you know, that the son like father, like son. Yeah, like a son. And what I'm saying is there's some truth to that old saying. So that's why I'm suggesting that couples that are thinking about getting married, if possible, spend time with each other's family members and observe. If their father, for example, is very domineering and, you know, you hear him speaking harshly to his wife, or that's the sign the 2 of you need to talk about that.
Yeah.
And your son will likely say, well, I'm not going to be like my father. Well, what are you doing not to be like your father?
That part. You
know? And if his father was an alcoholic, much higher percentage, he'll be an alcoholic. Now, he doesn't have to be. No. You know, but he needs to learn about alcoholism. He needs to be studying it and find out what decisions he needs to make now. So, and the same thing true with her mother. You know, if her mother always interrupts her father, you know, he's telling something, and she says, no, honey, it was Wednesday, not Thursday. Yeah, she just interrupts him on little things like that. There's a good chance the woman you're going to marry is going to be like that. So you need to discuss that. And if she realizes, oh, I didn't know, okay, well, let me think about this. If we're aware of those things before we get married, we can discuss them before we get married, and we can maybe learn some things about how not, if it's a negative thing. If it's positive, it's wonderful, you know. So, but if it is negative and we don't want her to be like that or him to be like that, let's discuss those things now so we kind of know what we got to work on. You know, that's what I'm saying in that chapter.
What are some things that you saw that, or Carolyn saw in you that was just like your daddy?
I think she saw that I was a hard worker, because I remember one summer I was at home and I volunteered to paint her mother's house for free.
Paint her house?
Outside. And so from the very beginning, her mother was on my side.
Sure was. You was going to paint her whole house by yourself.
Yeah. And when I was a teenager, my dad did some painting on the side. It wasn't his main job, but he did some painting on the side, and he taught me how to paint. So I knew how to paint, And I thought her mother was a single mom. Her husband had died several years earlier. And I thought, well, I can do that for her. It'd be something nice to do for her.
You won some points on that one, didn't you? You won some points on that, the painting the whole house. Did you do a good job?
Yeah, I think so. She thought so.
So how did that speak to Carolyn, though, to see her boyfriend do something like that?
I just think she saw that I was a worker, and that I had a heart to help other people.
But think about this. Her love language is acts of service.
Yeah.
And you did that for her mom. That spoke highly. I know that probably spoke extremely highly, because don't the love languages work like that too?
Oh, yeah.
Is that even if you're not receiving it, if someone that you love is receiving it from the person that you love, it speaks to them as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And how long had you been dating her before you did that?
I can't remember really how long we've been dating when I did that. I don't remember what juncture it was in our relationship, but I do remember doing it, and I knew her mother. Her mother told her, "You'll never do better than him."
It's like, yes, got it. Thank you. Let her know. You said you already have a book about the apology language, so we'll jump right there, where you said that toilets are not self-cleaning.
Well, I never remember growing up seeing my mother or my father clean a toilet. I just know they were always clean, So we got married, and we're about 3 weeks into the marriage, and I noticed that there was getting to be a ring in the toilet. And I mentioned it to Carolyn, and she said, "Yeah, I know. I was wondering when you're going to clean it." I said, "I don't know how to clean toilets." And she said, "Well, I can teach you."
Not that I can do it, but I can teach you how to do it.
So what I'm saying in that chapter is, there's a whole lot of things that have to be done on a daily basis or a weekly basis when you get married. Before you get married, why don't you sit down and make a list of all those things? Who's going to cook? Or you're not going to cook at all. You're just going to bring in food from the outside. Who's going to wash the clothes? Who's going to wash the dishes? Just right on down the line, just a list of everything you can think of. Who's going to clean the toilet?
Yeah.
Make a list of all those things, and then let him take the list separately. Let him put beside those things to be done the things he thinks he will do, and the things he thinks you'll do, and you do the same thing. Then get together and see if you agreed. But some of them, he's going to have you down, you're going to have him down.
Yep. And
those are the ones you need to discuss. Okay, honey. I think you should do it. I think you. Okay, why do you think that? To talk about it, because it's better if you already have in mind who's going to do these things before you get married. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change some of them along the way. I remember when we got married, we were in seminary, and we didn't have much money at all, and I was going to school full time and working part time. And so my wife agreed. She had a part-time job at the school. She agreed that she would pay the bills every month that came in and just balance the checkbook and all that sort of stuff. And so that was great for me. I was happy for her to do that. Well, about 6 months into our marriage, she said to me one day, she said, "Honey, do you think you could take over the balance in the checkbook and paying the bills and all?" I said, "Well, I can, honey." I said, "Why?" She said, "It hurts my stomach." She has a very sensitive stomach
to everything, huh?
But it was just so much pressure because as I said, we didn't have much money, and just trying to get the bills paid and all, and figuring it all out.
And that's not the problem anymore, huh? Dr. Gary Chapman, that's not a problem, huh?
Not at the present time.
So humble.
But I think it's really important for couples to talk about who is going to do what after we get married, because chances are, whatever her father did, she expects you to do.
Exactly.
And whatever her mother did, you expect, whatever your mother did, you expect your wife to do.
Yeah.
And that's unfair.
Let me tell you, how did lifestyle change? That's a good point. Started off, y'all were together, didn't have much money. That's not your testimony anymore. How has your lifestyle changed and the way y'all do life? Has it changed much?
To be honest with you, not that much.
Really? Did y'all upgrade the house? Did you move?
We've moved a few times. We've been in the same town now since 1967.
Oh, wow.
And we started out, we were living in a little condo, and I was working at another church, and I was teaching in a small college there for 3 years. And then we moved, 2 or 3 different times. But we've lived in the same house we're in now since 1996.
Really? That's when I graduated high school, Dr. Chapman.
Yeah. And it's it's a 2-story house, but it's nothing fancy. It's everything we need. In fact, we've agreed, as long as we're healthy, we're going to stay in that house the rest of our lives.
So where is that? Have you always been more of a simple guy like that?
Yeah.
You don't get caught up in, you want a Bentley and all that stuff?
No, I've never had that sense, of wanting all those things. Because, I realize what the scriptures say. Life's meaning is not found in what a man possesses. Life's meaning is found in relationships. First of all with God, and then family, and then other people.
Well, can't you have a relationship with your Bentley?
It's hard for me to have a relationship with a Bentley. I rode in one once in England.
What did you think about
it? A guy had one and said, well, I could take a ride, so I took a ride. I thought, it's a car,
So you married someone that was as simple as you are with the simple things in life.
Yeah, my wife grew up in a family. Her mother had 10 children.
10 children.
2 of them died young, but 8 of them lived to adulthood. And
you said as a single mom.
Well, she was a single mom when I started dating Carol. Her father had died earlier. But very simple family and home and house. And I grew up in a very, small house. But we were taught, in the summertime, I worked in the garden with my dad. We planted, things and all. My mother canned the food. It was before freezers. There were no freezers. But she would can the food that we
mason
produced.
Jars and all
mason jars and all of that, But I think I just learned early that happiness doesn't come from possessing a lot of things. I'm not opposed to it. If people want to spend their money that way, that's fine with me. But life's meaning is not found in things. It's really found in relationships. So that's what I've tried to invest my life in.
That's beautiful. And it's amazing how you met a woman that has the same ideals and thoughts. Yeah. Because as you were making more money, she could have said, I want this big old house because so-and-so has this amazing mansion. I need a $5 million house. I need this type of purse. I need a $10,000 purse and all that. And you would have gave it to her, huh?
I don't know.
What you gonna do with all the money, Dr. Chapman?
But fortunately, she never had that attitude. She's been very frugal. She grew up. She had to be frugal because when I started dating her, it was just her and her sister. She's the second youngest, and her younger sister. It was just the 2 of them still at home.
Okay, the other 6.
And her mother was working in a textile mill. And so at night, she had to fix dinner for her sister. And so after college and after high school, she had to work 2 or 3 years, worked as a telephone operator. They don't have those people anymore. In order to save money to go to college, So she's always been very frugal. And in fact, just yesterday, we were out buying a mattress. We need to get a new mattress. And she said, honey, I know the man that runs this place, and when we brought furniture over there, he gave us a discount. So I think we should go over there. I mean, that's just the way she thinks.
You said when y'all first got the place?
Yeah.
20 years ago. I think he's still there. I'm going to see if he can give me that discount. What did you do for her for your anniversary?
You know, yesterday I said to her, because yesterday was August the 12th was when we did it. We're recording this on the 13th, of course. But I said, honey, which restaurants you want to go out to tonight? And she said, honey, the nice restaurants aren't open on Monday. They don't open on Monday. I said, okay, so you want to go get some pizza? And she says, no, I want to cook a meal for us tonight.
Oh.
She's a good cook. In fact, she cooks every night except Thursday.
Really?
Thursday night, we go out and eat every week. But other than that, she cooks a meal every night.
And she's been doing that how many years?
In fact, I just told her last night, I said, after the meal, I said, honey, in fact, when I was praying, I said, thank you, Carolyn, God, for all the meals that Carolyn has fixed over 63 years.
Wow.
I mean, imagine. You know, it's just amazing. But she enjoys cooking, you know, and she has the energy to do it even now, even at her age. And so I've told her, I said, well, honey, we can go out any night you want to go out, you know. But she prefers to cook a meal at home, and I prefer what she cooks.
What did she cook for your anniversary?
It was a special squash that had cheese on it, and it was a pot roast, a pork pot roast, and it was a salad of tomatoes and another thing, I can't think the name of it. I think that, and corn on the cob.
And she made that just for you and her?
Yeah.
How does that feel to have that? To have a wife that enjoys cooking for you?
It's wonderful. I mean, I don't mind going out. You know, I'd be happy to go out more often. But it's just wonderful that she enjoys doing it. She wants to do it. And so, you know, it's wonderful.
Did she teach your daughter to cook?
She did, and our daughter does cook, and our son cooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both of them.
You know, those are lost talents these days.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Because you done counsel people where they probably complained about it in counseling sessions, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter's a medical doctor. She delivers high-risk babies, and she loves what she does. But her husband is also a cook. So she didn't do all the cooking. Yeah, he does a lot of the cooking. Of course, he's a medical doctor too, but he does a lot of he loves cooking. He taught his son to cook.
That's good.
And he taught his daughter to cook. In fact, his daughter could cook a full meal at 14 years of age.
14?
14. And she's, as long as I can remember, she always bakes her own birthday cakes. And she,
really?
Yeah, and she, you know, they're just all the unique birthday cakes.
She makes her own birthday.
Yeah. Whoever gets that gal is going to get a good gal. She's 25 and still single.
Let me ask you this. Do you think there's an age that's too young to get married, even though it may be legal? Let's say from 18, 19, 20. Do you feel like it's too young?
You know, intellectually, I have to say yes, because I think when we're that young, we're far more likely to make a decision based on our feelings of love for this person, or based on the fact that we're so unhappy at home, we just can't wait to get out of home, and we marry to get out of home. I think we're far more likely, if we wait a little longer, you know, when we're a little older, a little more mature, we're far more likely to make a wise decision. But I can't tell people what to do, you know. You know, I got married at 23. My wife was 22. And we thought we were old, but now that's not. I mean, people tend to get married older now.
Yeah.
And not everybody, but there's still people.
So y'all thought y'all getting married later in age at 22 and 23?
Yeah, we did.
Wow, people were getting married, fresh out of high school, 18?
Yeah. A lot of people that we knew that I went to high school with got married right out of high school.
Just to hear that, it sounds strange. To know that you come from an era where they were getting married at 18 and 23 was late.
Yeah.
Like late.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of pressure from family saying, when you going to marry? No,
because I went to college and they understood, you know, college was an important thing. And I didn't even think about getting married when I was in college, because that's just, college is a full-time job.
Yeah.
And but I did get, as I said, I did get married before I went to seminary for graduate school. So I'd been out of college 1 year before I went to seminary. So I was 23. But yeah. But I'm not trying to push people in any particular age. I just think that the more a little older, we're going to be more realistic about what we're doing.
What kind of young man were you before you got married? Was you a ladies' man? Was you the class clown, or were you the school nerd, or like what?
No, I was very much a student in high school. I didn't see myself as a leader in high school, even though they elected me as the president of the senior class.
Oh, you was a class president?
Which never crossed my mind. I was kind of shocked, because I was not a party person. I was not out in parties and all that stuff. And I think everybody would have said I'm a quiet person, So,
did you grow up in Winston?
No, I grew up in a little town called China Grove.
Where's that at? What state?
It's in North Carolina, and it's about a 45-minute drive from where I live now. And it's not the town the Doobie Brothers sang about. They sang a song on China Grove. It was named for the chinaberry tree.
Okay.
Sometimes called an umbrella tree.
Yeah.
It has these little berries.
Yeah.
And apparently there were groves of them, and so they named the town that. It's a little textile town where most people worked in the mills and made towels and sheets and pillowcases and all that sort of thing.
You ever go back?
Yeah, I go back. Of course, my mom and dad are both gone. My sister's also gone. So, and it was just my sister's the only sibling I had. But some of my sister's children are still down there. So, yeah, we go down, 2 or 3 times a year. And we do, for example, at Christmas and also July the 4th, we go down and meet with family down there.
How does your family see you? Like your nieces and nephews and all that. How do they see you as Dr. Gary Chapman, or they just like, that's my uncle?
I think it's Uncle Gary. And I like that.
Hello, Uncle Gary right there. So what is one of the main things that you learned about marriage? Or I'll even ask you this. What was one thing that you learned about yourself? Marriage becomes a mirror reflecting who we are and the deepest level. What did you learn about you in your marriage?
I think I learned that I was much more selfish than I ever thought.
Ooh, that's accountability right there.
I saw myself as a person that gave. I really did. And yet, I realized that I was expecting my wife to do what I wanted her to do and the way I wanted to do it. Load the dishwasher in the correct way. She loads it like she's playing Frisbee, And I just realized I was much more selfish about a lot of things than I realized. And I know we all are by nature. We're all self-centered by nature. But, selfishness is the opposite of love. Love is an attitude of giving to people, trying to enrich people's lives. Selfishness is an attitude of, I want to get something good for me.
Yeah. I want you to talk more about the dishwashing story and how it hit you later on in life in your marriage. And so you had a problem with the way Carolyn loads the dishwasher. As you said, she loads it like she's playing Frisbee with the dishes and everywhere. And y'all had roles and assignments. She loads, washes, and you unloads.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, well, why would you care if she's the one that's unloading and putting the dishes up? But it's because your responsibility is that you had to unload that. And how did y'all manage that space?
Yeah, I'm a morning person, so it's logical that I would unload the dishwasher. When we got married, I thought we'd have breakfast together every morning, just be a nice time to spend time together. She's not a morning person. I mean, she doesn't wake up till 10. She gets up, but she doesn't wake up, And so I had to unload it every morning, and it was just, it would be amazing if you could see what it looked like. The knife would be laying horizontal instead of up and down, and then here's one kind of plate, and over here's another kind of plate. It was just awful. And I tried to help her, and tell her, and remember, I was in seminary. God is a God of order.
You using scriptures?
Preach sermons to her. And one night she said, honey, if it's so important to you, why don't you just load the dishwasher? I said, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I said, but now, honey, I don't mind doing that. But now some nights I have to leave after dinner and go back to the office and all, and you'd have to do it on those nights. And she said, well, I don't mind doing it. And I'm thinking, I know you don't, but I got to unload it. So it bothered me a lot, but I accepted that. That was the solution. Okay, I will be the main, and I'll just accept the fact that on the nights that she loads it, it's going to be a mess. But, several years later, 12 years ago now, she came down with cancer.
Yeah.
Had surgery, did all the chemotherapy, lost her hair, lost, 30 pounds, and she only weighed 130. She just got down to 100. Hard year. She calls it her lost year because she couldn't do much of anything. And more recent than that, I wrote a book on the second half of marriage. It's called Married and Still Loving It, The Joys and Challenges of the Second Half. And we were trying to see, in that book I was trying to see, what are the traits of couples who thrive in the second half and those who just survive in the second half. And one of the things we discovered is that those who are really thriving not only come to accept the things that used to irritate them about their spouse, but they come to laugh about them. So when she had the cancer and she went through that year, of course, she wasn't doing cooking or washing during that time. But when she went back to loading the dishwasher when I wasn't there that evening, I would look in the dishwasher the next morning and look at all the mess and say, thank you, God, she's still alive. And then I would laugh. When you kind of get things in perspective when one of you faces death and comes back and is still here with you,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Whew, boy, when I say that puts perspective around a lot when you say that, to say, the moment that you could have lost her, that the things that irritated you the most be the things that you can laugh about.
Yeah.
And like you said, one of the things that people, what I believe is undervalued in marriage is the value of laughter. When you can laugh with your spouse, that is so healthy. I want you to speak on that. Being able to laugh, and as a therapist, what have you learned to know about that?
Well, I think there's no question about it. Laughter is good for your health. And those who've studied it, give examples of the kind of things that's healthy about it. But I think it's important, and we need to find places and ways that we can laugh individually, as well as with your spouse and with friends.
Yeah,
laughter is just healthy, and there's a lot of stuff to laugh about in the world. So Carol and I, sometimes we're sitting at the table talking, and she shares something that happened to her that day with somebody she met at the mall or somewhere, and then we sometimes we laugh about it because what they said or what she experienced with them was funny,
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you laugh at yourself, also.
There's where how your life picked up and changed, where you're traveling a lot. How did that cause any type of discord in your marriage?
She has always been very supportive of my speaking engagements and all. And I don't know. I think she, first of all, she's healthy being with herself.
Yeah.
And she has lots of friends.
Okay.
So she spends some of her time calling older people who are in rest homes and that kind of thing, and she knows they don't have many friends, and she's calling them. But she's also, when I'm gone, going out to lunch with friends and dinner with friends some nights. So I think she makes the most of that time when I'm not there. And I don't know, maybe she's kind of relieved she didn't have to cook.
She's like, good, I'm going to take the day off.
But she's always been very supportive. She said, look, that's what God has called you to do. That's your mission in life. That's a part of your mission anyway. You go. And she prays for me all the time that God will help me.
So y'all never had any type of discord as you were growing up, having kids in the home? Your job is shifting because it's like neither one of y'all knew what y'all were signing up for in marriage.
No,
when it comes to occupation.
No, and we had lots and lots of conflicts in our marriage, but by the time the kids came along, we had learned how to solve conflicts. And that's one of the things I deal with in this book on things I wish I'd known before we got married. I wish I'd known how to solve conflicts without arguing.
Explain.
You know, because by nature, we all argue because, you know I'm right, she knows she's right. And so we argue with each other, trying to convince the other person logically that my position's the right position. And all couples have conflicts.
Yeah.
It's just many of them have never learned how to solve them without arguing. And so they argue to each other. And finally, one of them just says, okay, have it your way.
Yeah.
You know, and now you won the argument, but they lost. And it's no fun to live with a loser. So why would you want to create one? And so in that book, I'm talking about how do you solve conflicts without arguing. And a part of that is you've got to learn to listen empathetically to your spouse, by which I mean you try to see the world through their eyes. When they're explaining something to you, you try to look at the world through their eyes. Now, you can ask questions to clarify, you know, is this what you're saying? Or what I hear you saying is this? And if you listen to them and ask questions to clarify, you can come to see how what they're saying makes sense in their head. And it always makes sense in their head. If you listen long enough, you can honestly say, well, honey, now that I hear you out, I can see how that makes sense. Now, here's my perspective. And then they give you the same thing. They listen to you, and they hear your perspective. And then they listen long enough to say to you, honestly, well, I can see how that makes sense. So obviously, we differ on this. Now, how can we solve the problem? And we spend our energy looking for a solution rather than spending our energy trying to win an argument. Winning an argument never helps a relationship. We're on the same team. We're not competing with each other. We're players on the same team. So let's learn how each of us can, you know, and solving a conflict, there's basically a couple of ways you can solve a conflict. One of you can decide to go over to the other's position after you've heard each other and say, well, honey, I really think after talking this out, I think let's do what you have in mind. I'm okay with that. And so you can just go over to their side. Sometimes it's meeting in the middle. You know, we can't quite go over there, but honey, what about this? You know, one of the things young couples face right away in the first year of marriage, especially if their parents live in different cities, where are we going for Christmas?
Yes.
They both want you home for Christmas.
Yep.
Well, it may not be possible. Both of them are home. You're too far away. Well, okay, maybe a middle road would be, honey, why don't we go to your parents this Christmas, next year my parents, but on Thanksgiving, we'll go to my parents, you know? And so each parent kind of can see that's fair enough, you know? But it's looking for that middle ground where we can come together on whatever the decision and agree, okay, this is not exactly what you wanted or what I wanted, but this works for both of us, you know? And
when I say it's a big deal, about where you're going for Christmas and all that, I remember when I was married, I would just always go to, and we lived in the same city, but my ex-wife always wanted to go to her mom's house, you know, every time, and she would just never go. I was like, well, I want to see my mama too, and never. Thanksgiving and Christmas will always be at her family's house. And I was just like, and I remember at one point I got a little resentment. I was like, and I was like, well, I went there for a couple of hours and I said, I'm going to go ahead to my mom's house. Why don't you come by? She said, well, after I leave here, I'm going to go to my uncle's house. And I was like, Okay. And it's like, instead of having a conversation, and what I recognize in my marriage is that I just didn't have leadership skills whatsoever. I didn't know to sit down and have those conversations. Yeah. You just want somebody to get it. You want them to take your social cues and be like, I don't think he liked that too much. Let me change, instead of, being a man and saying, hey, we need to talk about this. Let's sit down and negotiate how we're going to move as a married couple, how we're going to move when it comes to Thanksgiving or Christmas, how we're going to move as a family. Let's put milestones and benchmarks in place on tangible goals that we want to reach as a couple, instead of just flying by the seat of our pants and letting whatever happen to us. But that's why I applaud people like you who have the research, the data, the anointing over your life to take all of those, all that data and information and create bite-sized, revolutionary concepts that will help us have better and productive marriages. And that's the reason why the title of that book automatically jumped at me. And when Janice mentioned it, I was like, oh, I got to talk to him about that, because it's very simple. It's like especially when you come through a divorce, you look back and be like, man, I wish I would have known this. I remember the first year of marriage, I said that. I was like, I don't think I was prepared for this. No one told me that. And they used to minimize it and be like, oh, you'll figure it out. You know what I'm saying? But while you're figuring it out, you're trampling on the hearts of somebody else, instead of just, no, let's get some practical tools to be able to safeguard our marriage, to fireproof our marriage, and to make sure that we have productive marriages. Because you said something key at the very beginning of this. You said, not just survive, but thrive. Most times people, we just saw our people that our friends and family just survive in marriage, instead of thrive. We don't hear people have happy, productive marriages. They're like, oh, we made it 30 years. And that's it. And it's like there's no joy in it whatsoever. What are some other nuggets you want to share as we continue to wrap up? I'm going to give you this concept in the book, which was something really cool, that we needed a plan for handling money. How many times do you find that most marriages end because of money issues? Well, I'm told that the research indicates that it's the number one problem with couples is managing money. So what I'm saying to young couples is you need to get a plan before you get married on how you're going to handle money. One of the things I suggest as an ideal starting place, for example, is, and particularly if you're a Christian, is let's agree that we'll give 10% of our income to God. Right. We will save 10%, and then we'll live on 80%. Doesn't matter whether we're both working or just one of us is working, but that'll kind of be our overall arching plan. So we're going to try to live on 80% of what we have, which is just a ballpark figure. But then we need to have an idea of what it's going to cost. Before we get married, we often don't have a real clear idea of what all the costs are, because we've never paid rent before. We've never paid a house payment. We've never paid an electric bill. We've never, all those things. And those are people who got married really young, straight from their parents' house. About people getting married later on in life, then most times they know something about that. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And then who is going to handle the money in terms of balancing the checkbook every month, and who's going to pay the bills that come month. Now, of course, now a lot of it's done online. A lot of people do it online now. It's just automatically paid as long as you got the money in there. You have to take care of it. But also, one of the points I'm making there is whatever plan you have, I'm suggesting that each of you has some money every month that you can spend the way you want to spend. So that you don't have to go to the other spouse and say, honey, could I have $10 for this? I mean, that's like you're the parent, I'm the child, you know. No, and it doesn't matter to me how much, and it depends on how much you make, but if we can say $50 a month, whatever, you can do what you want to with that. And if you want to buy something more expensive, you can save your $50 as part of it. But having some sense of freedom to spend, but it has to be within a framework, because otherwise, there are spenders and there are savers, and they usually marry each other. So
if one of you is just buying stuff at random, whenever you see it, you like it, you want it, it's on sale, and you buy it, I mean, you can run the bill up, and you find yourself in debt, and you're paying a high percentage interest on your credit cards and all that. So, and that's where it really becomes a battle.
Yep.
Because, one is feeling, wait a minute, you spent $200 for what?
Yep.
And we get into arguments. And I think that's why money is likely one of the biggest things that couples struggle with, because we don't have any plan. And I'm suggesting also in that book that maybe you could say something like, what if we agree that neither of us will buy anything over this amount without consulting the other?
I totally agree with that.
And if you agree on that, then you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, that's a good deal, I should get that. But it's $150, and we agreed nothing over 50 or 100, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I got to talk to him about it. I got to talk to her about it. Make sure it's okay. You're less likely to be arguing about it once you buy it, and then they get home and they say, you did what? Yeah. So, again, we're a team. So let's handle our money like we were a team, and let's work together in spending and in saving.
With you and your wife being both frugal, did y'all have any issues like that?
It was not a really problem for us. Of course, in the early years when I was in seminary, we didn't have any money.
Have no money to argue about?
No problem. No problem. And of course, back then, bread was 15 cents a loaf.
15 cents a loaf.
And you could buy baby food. We had our first child when we were in seminary. You could buy baby food for 5 cents for a little thing.
We'll never see that time ever again.
No,
and gas, what was gas, like 20 cents?
29.9.
Yep. I remember when I was 10, 11, I used to mow yards, and the gas was like that, 59 cents or 25 cents. It was 34 cents. It was real low.
Oh, yeah.
It was real low, and I was like, wow. And then you see gas, $4 and something a gallon. It's like, I remember getting that gallon of gas for 50 cents. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's real different. It's real different. You get those potato chips, you get 4 for $1, those 25-cent bags, and it was literally more than what they have now in those dollar bags. So it's just, times have changed. And when you look at how life has changed, how do you, like when you're having conversations with people that are getting married, how much are you seeing the social climate affecting their relationships?
Well, I think it affects everybody. We're part of what's going on, and so we certainly are influenced by that.
When you think about social media, have you counseled people where they're like, and he's always on Instagram and he's always on this? You're hearing conversations that you and your wife never dealt with. Yeah,
you're right. I tell them I can't tell you what to do, but why don't you set limits on how much time you spend on the screen?
Yeah.
And I talk with parents about that too. In fact, I wrote a book on that whole topic, on screen kids, but why don't you set some limits on yourself rather than spending all your free time, online doing stuff, playing games or whatever you're doing. That can be a part of your life. But you have to self-discipline.
Yeah.
If you just do what is kind of coming natural for you, and all your free moments you're spending, you're going to miss out on a whole lot of life. And you're going to miss out on relationships. And in a marriage, you're going to have problems because nobody wants to be married to somebody who's spending all their free time online, So, but it's a huge challenge in today's culture because that's kind of where we are. And that's kind of what so many people are doing.
Do you feel hopeful?
I do feel hopeful for people who have the sense that we are in control of our lives and we can make decisions, that we don't have to be doing what everybody else is doing, or what we see online. We all have the same amount of time every single day.
Yeah.
And we choose how we're going to spend it. Some of it, I hope we're going to spend working. Working is a part of life. It was designed from the very beginning. God gave Adam and Eve a job. Keep things going here. And I think, it's just a part of life. In fact, the New Testament scriptures say, if a man will not work, neither should he eat.
Yep. As simple as that, huh?
Yeah, you take responsibility to work, you get to eat. You don't work, you don't eat. So we both, and you don't have to work outside the home. If one of you can make enough money for you to live on, and more common today, of course, that both of you are working outside of the home. But if a wife has a desire to be a stay-at-home mom, especially when the kids come along, then fine. If he can make enough money so that she doesn't have to work, then that's a fine arrangement.
Have you run into those problems in counseling? The 50-50, the 100, that's been a big topic on social media where, women say, I'm not going to be 50-50 with my spouse on the bills or whatnot. As a man, he should provide 100% of everything, and my money is my money, and his money is our money. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I deal with that in the book, and what I say is this: when you get married, it's no longer my money and your money.
Yep.
It's our money.
Yep.
And another part of that is it's no longer your debt and my debt. It's our debt.
Yep.
If you're marrying somebody and they have a $20,000 school bill, college bill, then we have a $20,000. That's why I'm saying to couples again in that book on money, share with each other the truth about whatever assets you have and whatever liabilities you have. If you have money in the bank, you have $500 in the bank in savings. He has $50 in savings. It's going to be $550 ours. Doesn't matter because it's no longer mine and yours. It's our money. So together, we've got to be honest going into marriage. I've had couples share with me that they had no idea that the person they married had a $30,000 debt at college or somewhere else. They had no idea until they got married. And I said, that is totally unfair not to share before you get married what your liabilities are so that when we get married, this is our responsibility.
Yeah. Whew, I bet you see a lot in these counseling sessions. As we wrap up, I want to talk about what advice would you give? I know you got this amazing book, but I want you to speak directly to the camera, and I want you to speak to that woman who's grown a little weary in her well-doing. She doesn't believe her spouse is out there. She feels like the way these guys are moving nowadays, they're not intentional. A lot of men feel like, women are requiring way too much from them than they require from themselves. They want a man to have a great credit score. They want the man to have a job that's paying six figures or whatnot. But they're saying the women aren't equal in that same thing. You having women that don't cook. You have women. So it's like these traditional roles that men feel like women hold them up to, but they don't hold themselves up to that same standard. So that's a loaded response. But I want you, a man that is walking in anointing in all things relationships, to look at that camera and speak to that man and that woman.
Well, I think, if you are a gal and you're not married, but you want to be married and you're getting older, I understand you can begin to get the sense of what's happening. I can't find the man, and let's face it, you may not find the man you're looking for that has all those things that you have in mind. There may be some of those that you'll have to realize, maybe I can settle that he's not this or that or the other thing. But you should have some guidelines as to what person you want. To me, the most important guideline is what is their relationship with God. And I deal with that in this book. We got to share our spiritual relationship because our relationship with God impacts everything. And for a dedicated Christian to think of marrying somebody who's not a Christian at all just because you're in love with them, you're setting yourself up for a lot of struggles in the future. So there's certain things you have to have in mind when you're thinking about, marrying, and don't sacrifice those things. Listen, you can have a wonderful life as a single, but remember, life is not found in pleasures, and it's not found in money. It's found in relationships with God and people. And life's greatest meaning is found in serving other people. So as a single, get involved in serving other people. Find a place where you can take your talents, your abilities, and use them to help other people. It's often in that context that you run into a man who's doing the same thing. He's also out there serving and giving other people. And you begin to think, we're marching to the beat of the same drummer. In fact, I heard a pastor say many years ago, if you're a gal and not married and you want to be married, first of all, commit yourself to God and run as hard as you can in the direction of following God and letting Him control your life. And then if you look over your shoulder one day and you see a man running in the same direction you are, and he's about to catch up with you, that's a good possibility that he's the man for you.
I like that.
So you're not looking for him. You're just going to be available when he runs by you, okay? Well, you get the gist of what I'm saying. But make the most of your single life and do some things that you feel like would be helpful to you as a single. And find the job that you really enjoy doing, where you can serve people on your job, as well as, volunteering to work in other places. So,
what do we say to the men?
I think to the men, I would say again, the most important thing in your life is your relationship with God.
Yes.
Because it will affect everything else. Because by nature, we're all selfish. And a selfish man is never going to have a good marriage. A man who wants to get married so she can make him happy is not going to be a good husband. And that's by nature. That's what we do. You're going to make me happy. You're going to meet my needs physically and every other way. And then we get into marriage and that doesn't happen. And what do we say? I'm out of here. You're not making me happy. No. We've got to recognize the greatest life in the world you'll have is by taking whatever abilities you have and using them to help other people. It's in the context of helping others and serving others that you're going to find the greatest satisfaction in life.
Amen. Whew. As we wrap up, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to pray for me. As I shared with you, my audience don't even know this, but I don't even know if I'm going to leave this in the actual episode, but I'll probably release it when my book is released. But I'm waiting on an offer from a publisher for my first book. And I would be remiss if I didn't have you pray over God's will over that book, God's anointing over that book, God's favor over the book. And can I ask you to pray for my book, Student of Love? I want a dispensation to occur. I believe that people carry certain mantles, and I believe that God has placed a mantle over you when it comes to relationships and building family and making sure that we have a healthy viewpoint of family. And I don't take that lightly. And so can I ask you to pray for my book, Student of Love?
Student of Love.
Student of Love.
Sure. Father, you know my brother here. You know the way you've blessed him in recent years, and you know the impact he has through this podcast. I pray you'll keep your hand on his heart. I pray you'll give him wisdom. But especially today, I pray for your hand upon this manuscript that he has. Father, you've put it on his heart. You've guided him as he's written it. Now I pray you'll open up the right door with the right publisher, that your hand will be upon the distribution of the book.
Yes, God.
You'll give his company wisdom on how to promote the book.
Yes.
And I pray, Father, that many, many people will be helped have an attitude of love and live a life of love, and that this book will help them do that. So I commit him and the book to you and pray for your hand upon it, because, Father, you know we can do nothing without you.
Yes, God.
But we know you can take us and use what we've done, and particularly use our books to touch the lives of other people.
Yes,
and that's what I pray for him in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, brother. Hey, listen, this is the GOAT. This is a giant in the kingdom of God. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to spend some time with me today to bless me with your wisdom, your knowledge. And I hope this was beneficial for you. I hope you enjoyed yourself as you spent some time with me today. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed being with you. It's been fun, and also very challenging. The topics we've dealt with. So, I pray God will use each one of them to touch the lives of the people who watch.
Amen.
So, God bless you.
Y'all give it up for my homie. The only person that called him homie in any interview he's ever done. My homie, Dr. Gary Chapman. Y'all give it up for him, y'all.
Stay tuned to the end for a letter to my future wifey.
Been writing these love letters to you. Ladarian, thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015. My nephew, black, a boy. The likelihood of being adopted outside of kinship, slim to none. Armani, 16 years old, black, a boy, with 5 years in the foster care system before I even knew his name. The likelihood of ever being adopted, yep, you guessed it, slim to none. While Ladarian and Armani were trying to survive and barely thrive in an overpopulated and underfunded foster care system, I was living my own life, doing well professionally. Having been a single father with a daughter who at that point was doing well in college, it was my time to live my life, right? Wrong. I felt unsettled, tireless, agitated. There are just too many of our black children stuck in ambiguity and in the limbo of the foster care system. In 2017, I legally adopted my nephew, Ladarian. Fast forward to 2019, I had no ties to this other young king, but I felt God instructed me to adopt him also, and I obeyed. Starting over with parenting should have been enough, right? Working with various foster care and adoption agencies to help bring awareness to the countless young black kings in the foster care system should have decreased my agitation, right? Joining the board of directors of Advantage Adoption, an organization that helps find permanent adoptive homes for children in foster care, should have led to some type of resolve, right? No, not at all. None of it felt like I had done enough. I now realize that every one of those experiences was laying the fundamental foundation for my life's mission, Kingdom Royale. Kingdom Royale will be a luxury, state-of-the-art home for foster boys. Our first location will be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We will utilize the whole person approach that instills identity, empowers them to advocate for themselves, and enlightens them regarding new perspectives and limitless options that they thought were impossible. Though the young kings will attend the local public schools that are in proximity to Kingdom Royale, our at-home curriculum will broaden their worldview through participating in the arts, attending various cultural events, learning about and engaging in multifaceted discussions about current events and even relevant historical context, introducing them to gardening and landscaping and even caring for our animals on our farm and on-site stables. We just launched our Startup Capital campaign with the goal of raising $2.8 million. Now, why $2.8 million? Well, in 2017, I created a web series in which I performed random acts of kindness for targeting the homeless community. One of the most notable successes was that one of the videos went viral, garnering 28 million views. However, one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't raise a single dollar to help in implementing a more sustainable plan for the homeless community. So throughout the years, with much remorse, I reflected on not maximizing that moment. I knew if at that time, just 10% of the viewers donated $1, we would have raised at least $2.8 million that could have really established long-term support for the homeless community, or at least started a long-term initiative to do so. This is my do-over. This is our new beginning. Together, we can attack this at the root by specifically helping our homeless black boys who are already disproportionately represented in the American foster care system. I'm Laterras Whitfield. I've been nominated for 3 regional Emmys documenting my work with the homeless as well as my personal adoption journey. Despite those accolades, the greatest award for me is truly providing the infrastructure for a transformed life. Visit kingdomroyale.com for more details. Crown a king and make a donation today. Man, this is exciting. It's exciting because on November the 22nd, I will be taking vows for forever. I will be getting married to the woman who I believe that God fashioned for my heart. I love this woman. You'll hear me say that often. The article in Essence, I kept saying, I love this woman. And I really do. Well, here's my favorite part of the podcast where I speak to my future wifey. Dear future wifey, it was my greatest honor to put a ring on your finger. This is the first letter I've written since that momentous occasion on July the 13th, 2025. I've replayed that day in my mind 1,000 times, the way your eyes welled with tears before your lips could form a single word. The way heaven stood still just long enough for our yes to echo through eternity. That moment didn't just mark the beginning of our engagement. It marked the fulfillment of countless prayers, journal entries, surrendered fears, letters, and divine timing. That ring didn't just symbolize a proposal. It was a covenant, a silent vow wrapped in platinum declaring, I choose you over and over with no expiration date. Every time I glance at your hand, I see more than jewelry. I see a lifetime of laughs in grocery store aisles, late night conversations that stretch until sunrise, quiet forgiveness after loud misunderstandings, and love steady, unrelenting, and sacred. Since that day, I've noticed how everything feels richer, how worship feels deeper with you by my side, how purpose feels clearer knowing you're walking it with me, how my dreams feel more anchored because you believe in them too. I enjoy writing these letters to you, not to impress you, but to remind you that you were never just a choice. You were God's answer. Your future hubby.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Dear Future Wifey podcast. Remember, be lit, live intentionally and transparently, and don't stop loving. Make sure to subscribe to our Dear Future Wifey YouTube channel. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. We welcome your support. Simply share our podcast with your friends and family.